33-story hotel and condo project.
I'd probably be
okay,
like
let's
that.
stop. Tap.
This is a plan by the community for the community.
This one here. Show me.
No problem, Ken. Thanks for having me.
It's Kent Mulgat for Kelowna Now. And we're joined by Wesla English, a regular contributor to Kelowna Now. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. I didn't really have a choice, though.
No,
we had our
you were-
story meeting on Wednesday.
You were roped into this,
and
but
then Ken's like,
well, okay, you covered a few interesting things, and a few things I wanted to get to is when you run into people who take in weather forecasting,
sure.
what's the biggest mistake people make when they're trying to interpret what they're hearing from a weather forecaster?
Good question. I think for a meteorologist, forecasts are different depending on where you look for them. So for example, if you look on your app, that forecast is different from the forecast on your website, but a lot of people just kind of think that they're all the same. So, and whenever I get a forecast wrong, I'm the first to be crying myself to sleep. Like literally, I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is the weather like today? And I want to make sure that my forecasts were accurate. But that's one of the issues, is that the forecast that you're looking on your phone may not have been the forecast that I produced the day before.
Right. So I take it that there is a whole pile of information you draw from. You've got satellite, you've got radar, you've got different computer models, and different forecasters have a tendency to sort of draw upon different sources
models
to kind of really be the underpinning of their forecast. So it does vary from forecaster to forecaster.
It varies from forecaster to forecaster, and it varies from model to model. So the basis of any forecast is from a computer model. And for those of our viewers who may not know what a computer model is, it's basically supercomputers around the world, and many countries have them. So Canada has one, the US, they have supercomputers as well. The European countries have supercomputers, the Asian countries have supercomputers, and these supercomputers are very powerful computers that crunch numbers and equations and then eventually spit out some kind of a forecast.
Right.
So a meteorologist could pick the Canadian model over the US model, over the European model. So first of all, a meteorologist may have model biases, but these models themselves may have biases themselves because of the different equations or the different formulas that are used to produce a forecast.
Okay, you mentioned the app and the website. It would seem to me that your greatest chances of getting a good forecast would be to rely on a trustworthy meteorologist who's in your area.
Well, I'd like to think so.
Right, because you know some local things.
Sure.
Like we do have lake effect cloud, and we do have certain tendencies in this valley that might sort of not fit in exactly with how the more distant computer models would suggest.
Absolutely. So something that computer models really do not have the skill to predict. Valley cloud is one thing. So in the wintertime in the Okanagan Valley, we often get this blanketed cloud that's low cloud for the most part, and then we could get sunshine on top of the mountain tops. That's usually when we see an inversion. So if you're a skier or snowboarder, there are days when it's beautiful, sunny, warm up on the mountain, and then here in the valley we're stuck underneath the cloud. So valley cloud is something that computer models just cannot predict because it's such a localized weather phenomenon.
Right. Now, something that I recently was discussing with some people, and everyone seemed to have a different idea on, and talking about it with you before this, I have a low probability of success here, I think, on clarifying it.
Sure.
Because what does it really mean when you hear there's a probability of precipitation of 40%, and you're having a picnic at Bertram Creek Park on the weekend?
And you don't want it to rain.
Okay, if it's 40% for that day,
Sure.
what does that mean the chances are of our picnic blanket getting wet?
Well, it's a pretty slim chance
Is
of
it
a
40?
shower. It's 40, but here's something that you have to consider. So that 40% also entails the forecaster confidence. So when I'm producing a forecast, so let's say I'm producing a forecast for Thursday, and I say 6% chance of showers, but I'm only 80% confident, then that 60% chance of a shower could have been even greater because again, I'm just not 100% confident.
So you would just lower that number a little.
Exactly.
So still, it comes down to your best guess that it's going to rain on any given place within the forecast
I
area.
don't have a crystal ball. It's always a guess. It's an educated guess.
Right, and you're sort of putting a number on the confidence level that's about the chances that it's going to rain in that particular spot.
For sure. And you know what?
Or showers and rain. Now, there's another thing.
That's another thing. So showers, it's all about duration. So in the summertime, we'll see showers for the most part, especially when we have, anytime you're outside in the sun and you see those big white puffy clouds, those could produce showers. So showers really only last for a brief amount of time. Rain is when it lasts for a longer amount of time. So that's the difference between showers.
Is there a
and rain.
time you can put on that? Like, is 15 minutes a shower and a half hour's rain?
50 minutes is a shower. You know, it depends who you ask.
And where you are.
On paper, in the dictionary, I think it's 50 minutes.
Right.
But, you know, it's kind of all relative. And of course, it depends on the intensity too, although that has nothing to do with the shower. The thing is, showers are usually higher intensity just because of its nature. Most showers are, especially in the summertime, convective in nature, and again, that's associated with those big puffy cumulus clouds. But then if you get something like a warm front that rolls in, you won't really see those big puffy clouds. You'll kind of see more of how would you explain it? They're just not puffy. Stratus layer. Thank you. It's just a layer of cloud rather than you don't see any vertical development. It's just clouds that are just a horizontal layer.
Okay. But in the final analysis, how long would a shower have to go on before you'd call it rain?
For me, about 15 minutes-ish to half an hour.
Starting to be getting into rain territory.
And here in our Okanagan Valley, we don't see rain all that often because we're in the rain shadow, right?
You get showers.
We usually see showers, and again, a day where you see a mix of sun and cloud, and you see those big white puffy clouds. If I was on the boat and I started to see a lot of those big puffy clouds, I'd probably want to get off the lake because that could potentially mean a shower or potentially mean windy conditions as well, because that's a sign of instability, or that's just a fancy word of a sign of cooler air moving in over warmer air at the surface. You're so excited.
One of the other things that we covered
Yes.
was the amount of weight you can put on a forecast as you go further into the future.
Sure.
So when you, if it's Friday and you're predicting for Saturday, you can probably have a good degree of confidence in that.
Absolutely.
But when you're looking at the Monday forecast given on Friday, you should logically start to put more of a grain of salt in that.
Absolutely. So we all do it. You know, when I go on vacation, I'm always checking my phone, looking at weather charts, going, what is going to happen in a week? Really trying to see what's going to happen a week into the future is very difficult, especially in the shoulder seasons. There are times during the summertime, or there are times during the heart of the wintertime, you can kind of see a very stable weather pattern. But the second we start seeing weather systems rolling in, that can really screw up the timing of precipitation, for example, because there are so many variables that can affect the amount of rain, the amount of clouds. It's all dependent on the tracking of these weather systems. And if the weather system tracks, I don't know, 25 kilometers south, then that will throw everything that was in the forecast off.
Right. So if you look at a certain site as you're, digesting weather forecasting, oh, these guys are great. They always give me 7 days of forecasting.
Right. You really want to take it with a grain of salt. I would say most of the time I'm confident the next few days, but after day 3, when you get into the 4th, 5th day, that's when things start to go, okay, well, we can see a trend. Usually you can tell if it's going to be cooler or warmer, but in terms of timing precipitation, that is nearly impossible. And thunderstorms, for example, you basically can't predict exactly where a thunderstorm will develop until the day of. You can predict the general area. You can see the potential for thunderstorms in the Okanagan Valley, maybe a day or 2 or even 3 days in advance. But to track exactly where that thunderstorm is going to end up over, that is more of a day of kind of forecasting.
I think the analogy is kind of like golf. You hit that ball, and you can pretty much predict it's going to go straight for the first, 10 meters or so. but you know, it can be wildly inaccurate by the time it's 100 meters away.
I like that analogy. Let's always try and aim to get that eagle then.
All right, Wesla, thank you very much. I think I know more about weather now.
All right. Well, again, ask me any questions.
All right.
Whether if our viewers want to ask us questions, feel free to tweet us or contact
Great.
us on our email.
All right, we'll do that. Thanks very much.
thanks.
And you're watching Kelowna Now.